Hello and welcome to this full moon video for the full moon in Revati Nakshatra on the 5th of October 2017. If you would like to know the exactitude of the full moon, well, UK time, that's going to take place at about 20 minutes before 8 p.m. If you want to go online, you can look at where that is in your own particular time zone by comparing the times, right? So let's talk about how in several areas of your life, you might be dealing with a huge level of frustration. Why? Because everything seems to be in a state of limbo. You feel like it's long overdue for things to move on in several different areas, and I'm going to explain why here in a moment. But things seem to just kind of be like in a holding pattern. But sometimes the holding pattern can be good. Sometimes we think that we are ready for something to change or to shift, but we're not really ready, right? We think we know best, but really when it boils down to it, universe, God, whatever it is you want to call it, ultimately knows best. And interestingly enough, with this particular full moon, the solar lunar yoga for that day is Vyagata. And with Vyagata, in order to move forward, it's very important to have humility, right? And so if you're dealing with a struggle in relation to several different areas of your life, look at how unhealthy pride might be at the root of a lot of the problems that you're dealing with. And that level of pride is understandable, most likely because one part of you feels slightly sensitive about how things feel stuck and how you feel perhaps incompetent to be able to do anything about it. So why this level of incompetence? Well, right now we are dealing with 4 combust planets, right? And I've spoken about combust planets before, but it's good to do so again. So what happens when a planet is combust is that from the perspective on Earth, so imagine this finger to be the Earth, imagine this to be the sun, this big, huge ball of a hand, which is not a ball at all. It's just a bunch of fingers. But on the other side of that sun is the planet. So here's the Earth, here's the sun. The combust planet is behind the sun. So what that means is that the rays of that planet don't really reach the Earth, right? And if it's not reaching the Earth, we can't receive the blessings or the benefit of that particular planet. So in what areas of your life that are ruled by, or I should say in the areas of your life, ruled by Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, in all 4 of those areas, or maybe several different areas, because each of those planets rules 2 houses. But in each of those areas, there's an incompatibility with something, right? Let's take a look at this step by step and understand some of the emotions that would be going on beneath the surface in association with that. Quite often, when there is a combustion problem with Jupiter, an individual can feel like on a certain level they're not worthy of the grace or the bounty that the universe has to offer them. And so in whatever areas of life that are ruled by Jupiter, that might be an issue that's at the root of the problem, right? With Mercury, when there's a combust Mercury, which happens quite often because Mercury never travels that far from the sun, we often have a hard time making requests about certain things that we think to be better for our life. We, kind of hold back. We don't express. We hold it in because we're perhaps afraid of hearing no for an answer, right? When you have a combust Mars, there can be a tendency to feel a need to prove one's will, to prove one's strength, to prove one's capacity to do something. So in whatever areas of your life that are ruled by Mars, that can be an issue at present, right? And when you have Venus combust, in a certain area of your life at present, you may feel like it's hard to be diplomatic with another person. Your life feels perhaps a little unhappy in that area. You're not getting the pleasure from life that you would like to experience in whatever area that Venus rules. And you are not really willing to be that diplomatic about it. Now let's look at this, because Venus and Mars are both in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra. Now, when we have a good, solid sun supporting Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, an individual is usually pretty confident and able to do the things that they need to do in order to make things flow smoothly in their life. So in the areas of life that are ruled by Venus and Mars at present, you're likely not feeling that confident. And so what you're doing instead is feeling a need to perhaps compensate for lack of confidence by mustering a sense of false bravado, blah, 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 by mustering a sense of blah, 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 by mustering a sense of false bravado. That's what I meant to say. You're not confident, but you feel a need to pretend that you're confident, right? And so then that makes you act proud. You don't feel like being diplomatic. You feel like going, well, I have to be strong and assert myself in this situation, right? I have to follow my passion in the areas ruled by Mars, in the areas ruled by Venus, and make sure that I'm getting what I need out of this situation, because quite often I get stepped on, and really I need for my life to be set up this way, that way, and the other way, and I need for all of these demands to be met in order for my life to be absolutely perfect, right? But gee, do I really deserve that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I'm going to demand it. Give it to me, right? Well, maybe that's a little over the top, but maybe not, right? Maybe that's what's happening in those particular areas. So let's look at this combustion with Mercury, right? You're dealing with a lot of struggle. You're dealing with a lot of struggle, but you know that you can overcome the struggle. You can reach a breakthrough. It's just right now things are feeling a little bit stuck in whatever areas Mercury's ruling. So what do you need to do, right? Sometimes it's as easy as communicating what you're looking for, saying what you need, right? But you're perhaps afraid of hearing a no, or perhaps afraid of hearing, well, no, it's not going to happen like that. It's going to happen like this, and then it turning into some sort of difficult interaction with another person. And so then you kind of hold back, right? Because you don't want to deal with the struggle, right? You'd rather just kind of go, you know what? I don't want to have to behave in this strong manner, because behaving in that strong manner can bring some conflict into my life. And really inside of myself, I'm feeling a little bit sensitive, because Revati Nakshatra, which is where the full moon is, always gives a certain level of that sensitivity, right? So you don't want the struggle, but you can't not express yourself. You see things a certain way, and it may not turn out exactly precisely the way that you would like for it to. But in order for you to even have a chance of it turning around in those areas that Mercury rules, so for instance, if Mercury ruled the 7th and the 10th, in order for things to turn around in your relationships and your career, you have to at least express yourself and overcome the inertia that's keeping you from being able to voice yourself, right? So in those areas ruled by Jupiter, right? Let's say Jupiter rules your 1st and 4th. Let's say you're a Sagittarius ascendant. So in those areas ruled by Jupiter, right, you'd like to feel secure within yourself, but you likely feel that in some previous lifetime you did something really stupid or wrong, and so you deserve to be insecure. You don't deserve to be happy, right? God's punishing you because you've been naughty and no cookies and milk for you, right? Well, that makes you feel restless. And it makes you go, you know what, God, I'm going to grab those cookies from you, and those belong to me, because that's what Jupiter and Swati Nakshatra would do. It goes, you know what, I'm feeling restless. Things aren't working out the way that I want for them to, so I'm going to have to seize the moment and make something happen. Because while that's going on, we also have Rahu, which rules Swati in Magha Nakshatra. So Magha Nakshatra has this tendency to decide that on a certain level, it's not happy with its separation from the divine. It's not happy with this lack of grace flowing into its life. So it's going to decide to run the show. And so then it begins to push up against the resistance and demand those things that it feels like it deserves out of life, right? So in one area, several areas of your life, this is the scenario that's going on, but there's one thing that's at the very root of it: a lack of confidence, a lack of self-assuredness, a lack of you being able to feel like you can trust that things are going to develop in a healthy manner, a lack of willingness to wait, a lack of willingness to be patient. And it's understandable because the situation that you're dealing with is affecting so many different areas of your life, and ultimately it's making you feel unhappy, right? And it's absolutely right that you do something to change all these particular areas. But if it's not time, it's not time. That doesn't mean it's your fault. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you don't have the willingness to make a sacrifice for all of those things. Somewhere inside of you, you do. And you have to trust that you do. But when you're not trusting that you do, then you're going to tend to behave in a very proud manner and compensate for the insecurities that are going on beneath the surface. And that's not going to help the situation that you're dealing with. Mixed in with this, Mars in Uttara Phalguni is also forming an angle with Saturn in Mula Nakshatra. And that can make it so that you push and push and push, and you keep coming up against resistance, only things just are not budging the way that you would like for them to budge. And then that makes you feel like you have even less confidence that things are going to turn around and shift. But they are. They're just developing. Look around you. Look and see what's happening, right? Don't become so intensively focused on what you need to do and how things need to shift right now. Instead, look at what's around you and look at how things are already developing and be grateful for that and congratulate yourself for aligning with the side of yourself that helped to bring all those things into being, because ultimately you didn't really do that much other than align yourself. And that doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're actually strong. You aligned yourself with God's grace. So see, you are deserving of grace, even though you think that you're not, right? You need to ask for what you need in your life. You need to do so in a diplomatic manner that isn't quite as pushy as you might be feeling the urge to be. And you need to recognize that you deserve it. Do all of those things, and over the course of the next couple of weeks, you'll notice even greater developments. If you'd like to know what areas of your life this might pertain to, please do feel free to schedule an astrological consultation through the astrological services page of my website, which you should see a link to towards the end of this video if you don't already see it. That's going to do it for your full moon video for the full moon in Revati Nakshatra on the 5th of October, 2017. Until next time, please take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.